There we go. So, welcome to Module 4, Part 3. Today, we are talking about regressions and past lives. And if you remember yesterday, we talked about everything that has to do with birth and being birthed and how the human is created. And now we are going what happens after death, or what is death and what happens after death, and how does it impact our life and the life of others. We have actually at least one exercise around that, or maybe two if we have the time. All right. So, what to be expected from today? First of all, we talk about death and the process of dying. We are talking about the concept of past lives. We are also talking about the concept of reincarnation and what that has to do with family systems. We will also talk about reincarnation and karma. We will briefly touch traditional belief systems and what they say about reincarnation and karma and past lives. We look at the sole cause of a disease. And we will finally do our regression. So, let's talk about death. First of all, if you're on your spiritual path, you might have discovered, and if not, you should discover it soon, that there is no such thing as death. Yeah? Life always lives on as energy, which we are made from energy and information. It is not going away just because the body is decaying, right? The body is just the same substance as Earth, goes back to Earth, and Earth creates a new body, if you will, right? So everything else goes on, and you can actually experience that for yourself. And we will make an exercise to that. So we are energy, we are changing vibrations or frequencies, however you call that, but nothing can go away. So now death is the change from the physical to non-physical existence or reality. And then you have a birth and you go back into the physical reality, right? And it is a never-ending circle if you don't get out of it. And the circle is called the circle of life or the circle of karma as well. Now I want to introduce you to the process of dying. We know we are changing from physical reality into non-physical reality. It takes also 9 months to prepare, same as a pregnancy under normal circumstances. Of course, there can be accidents, there can be other unforeseen incidents. Although I have heard, I don't know from whom, but I have heard this lovely quote, in the universe, there are no mistakes, only misunderstandings. So that's kind of something that I really like to think about. If something goes wrong, no? Some miscommunication here with your higher self or with whomever. The electromagnetic field, remember the heart that is pumping and creating this electromagnetic field? This electromagnetic field that is holding the emotional and spiritual body close is getting weaker and weaker towards the end of, and over the course of 9 months, towards the end of life, until it cannot hold them back from leaving because it stops beating and stops to create this electromagnetic field. So obviously I'm not dead, so I'm not saying this from my own experience, but if you look at near-death, people who had near-death experiences, and if you are studying ancient spiritual literature, they all kind of say the same about what it is likely to experience to change from the physical into the non-physical reality. So the first thing you always hear and read is that it feels a little bit dizzy and disorientated. Most people report that they feel they are going or being drawn through a corridor. They see the colors differently as we perceive them in a physical existence, and they also see a change of perspective, interestingly. they see everything more vibrant, clear, and sharper. Some people, they can see down if they are dying in their bed or in the hospital or maybe in an accident. They report that they actually see themselves or their bodies in very clear, and they see their grieving relatives and family members. So that apparently can all be for a time being observed without eyes, right? Just remember, non-physical reality. Everyone is on the same journey. Everybody is doing the same thing here, but with different destinies, of course. We are also going into different dimensions. So I want to point out that when we are talking about going somewhere, we are in fact not going anywhere. So it is not that there is in our universe a star, which is, you know, the realm of the color blue and the emotion blue. That's not the case. Everything is here and now. It's just in different dimensions. So instead of us traveling to another planet where is our astral world, that is not true. This is not another physical existence, a non-physical existence. So we are actually staying where we are, but we are going through dimensions, yeah? And here countless dimensions. So we are not really traveling through what we would in our physical reality perceive as space, yeah? Only the ones that are sticking to the in-between world are not going through the corridor, has been reported, because apparently this corridor is getting towards the dimensions that are after the in-between world. So from the astral worlds all the way to the world of light. The soul goes back to the astral plane, as you have seen yesterday, and the color of the emotion it has become. And the spirit leaves the soul behind and goes back to the light and waits there until the soul wants to have a new experience or is ready for a new experience in the physical reality. So that is, in a nutshell, what has been reported, how the process of dying is perceived as one changes from the physical into the non-physical existence. And I would like to invite you to kind of experience that for yourself in this little exercise. Of course, you're not dying, but we will experience as good as we can in this meditation what it means to leave the physical reality behind. Yeah? So, this exercise is a guided meditation. I will guide you through it, and it's called Shavasana, corpse pose. Shavasana is a Sanskrit word translated as corpse pose, is a tradition in yoga practice to do Shavasana after an asana practice, but not only after an asana practice. The true meaning of the Shavasana is not only relaxation, it is to experience on the deepest level what it feels like to die in order to overcome the fear of dying. Yeah, so it has a really deep impact on one's spiritual journey, because all fear that is hindering you from developing your true self, your true potential to be who you really are, it's all in the end, it's all held back by fear, and all fear is related to the fear of dying. There is no actual fear when there is no fear of dying, right? So to overcome the fear of dying means to overcome all fear, and to overcome all fear means to have the whole potential available for you. Yeah? So, okay, are you ready? All right. So please sit upright. Actually, no, you don't need to. You can relax. You can lay back. Keep it relaxed. So really relax, so you don't hold any tension. You can even lie down if you want to, if you can still hear me. So that makes no difference. Just make sure you're very comfortable. You can put your feet up if you want to, or anything like that. Whatever is needed to be really comfortable. If we wouldn't be in a virtual realm, of course I would like you to lay down. But you know, you have to decide if you want to do that or not, as long as you can hear me clearly. Okay. Right. So now close your eyes and start to focus on your breath. Feel the breath coming to you naturally. Just the focus is on the breath, the ebb and flowing of your belly. And your eyes, your eyelids are feeling heavy. Your limbs feeling heavy too. Shoulders are relaxed. Every part of the body is relaxed. From the toes all the way up through the legs, the lower and upper body, to the head and the top of head, all the way into the tip of your hair, from the tip of your fingers, through your hands, arms, shoulders, neck, all the way up the back of your head to the top of your head. With every passing moment, you are relaxing even deeper. There's nothing to do, nothing to think about. You just completely relax with every cell of your body. Now you go with your awareness into your right leg, all the way to the toe. And you feel your toes. Focus on the toes. See whatever sensation is in your right toes. And then you let go of your right toes. And they are not there anymore. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Then you go with your awareness into the right foot. You feel the right foot. Whatever sensation you feel in the right foot, you are fully aware of the presence of your right foot. And then with your next breath, you see your right foot vanishing. You ask yourself the question, am I still there? Then all your awareness goes into your right leg, the whole of the right leg. You feel the sensation in your right leg clearly. And being fully aware of the presence of your right leg, You see how it vanishes. And you ask yourself the question, am I still there? Now all your awareness goes into the left toe. You feel your left toes. You are aware that your left toes are there. And then you see how your left toes are vanishing. They are gone. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now all your awareness goes into your left foot. You feel your left foot. You feel the sensation in your left foot. You're aware of the presence of your left foot. And then you see how the left foot is completely vanishing. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now all your attention goes into your left leg. You feel your left leg and the presence of it. And then it vanishes. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now all your awareness goes into the right hand. You feel your right hand. And then you see the right hand vanishing. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Then your awareness goes into your right arm. You feel your right arm. And then you let go of your right arm and it vanishes. And you ask yourself the question, am I still there? Now all your attention goes into the left hand. You feel your left hand. You're aware of the presence of your left hand. And then now you see the left hand is vanishing. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now you focus on your left arm. You feel the whole of the arm. And you let go of it and see it vanishes. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now you see the lower body, the hips, the buttocks, the belly with its inner organs, and you feel your lower body. You're aware it is there. And then you see it vanishing. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now you focus on your upper body, the chest, the heart, the shoulders, shoulder blades, the neck. You feel your upper body. You are aware of your upper body. And now you see how this also is vanishing. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Now all your attention goes to the head. You feel your head. You feel every sensation in your head. You're aware of your head being there. And now you let also go of your head, and it vanishes. Nothing is left from the body. And you ask yourself, am I still there? Am I still there? Am I still there? And you listen to yourself and to the answer that you get to this question. And now you start to wiggle your toes and fingers and to deepen your breath. Take a deep inhale and an open mouth exhale. And in your own time, when you are ready and you feel your body on your chair, you open your eyes. Is Karen with us? Yeah, she is. Very good. Okay, so just unmute for a sec and tell me, give me some feedback how it was for you, this exercise. Who wants to start?
Yeah,
Yes,
it was very
Karen.
relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
But when every time you say, "Am I still there?" But I tend to answer, "Yeah, I'm still here." I mean, But I mean,
Yeah. What did you say? Yes or no?
yes.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, it seems like it's like making things up. I mean, but it's very relaxing.
Very good. Very good. So the point, of course, being that there is an awareness that the awareness of who we really are is not bound to any physical existence.
Mm.
And I would like you to invite you to experience this for yourself as often as you can, hmm? In any way, shape, or form. As more you experience that for yourself, as more you can let go of any kind of fear. Hmm?
Mm.
Thank you for sharing, kindly. Okay, who's next? Kerstin?
Yeah, well, I found it quite interesting. I thought there was sometimes a slight panic coming on,
What
and
coming on?
a slight panic
Panic,
coming on.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah, very understandable, yeah.
yeah. But no, it was
Mm,
okay.
mm,
And because I have extreme back pain at the moment, so that was really good. Um, I thought, yeah, just lower body part can go. It's just okay. Take it. Um,
yeah.
but I would be curious for the other participants as well. So, what's the like? What is the essence that is left? Like what I saw there, or I don't know. I saw the things that I've made for my loved ones,
Uh-huh.
things that I've made and it's still there. I don't know. I don't know if this is silly or but that's what
Mm,
I saw. Very special things that I've made for very special people.
mm, very
I
good.
wonder because I wonder what everyone else at the end
Mm-hmm.
when you ask when nothing was here anymore, did anyone see anything or is there just a black? I don't know. I can't explain. I can't describe it any better.
Very good, Kerstin. Very good. Thank you. Rosemary.
Well, to answer Kirsten's question, I didn't see anything, but I could feel the panic a bit, and not terribly. And then I fell deeper and deeper, and I was so surprised suddenly to wiggle my toes and fingers. I was so surprised that they are still there. And that was
Very good.
very interesting. Thank you very
Good.
much, Maria.
Very good. Karen.
It was lovely, thanks, Maya. I've always liked Shavasana, but I've never done it like that. Now I understand it on a different level.
Mm.
Um, I really enjoyed I loved the fact that when my feet just disappeared and my legs just disappeared and everything just disappeared. And for me, there was a sense of me. I was like, yeah, yes, I'm still here, but there was no sense of anything else, no light, no nothing, just nothing. It was just very relaxing. I'd like to go back there actually.
Yes, I think that's actually what death is. It is a very relaxing experience. That's how I would perceive it once you overcome the fear of dying, right? Because of course your back pain is gone, and of course you see different perspectives. It must be very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I invite you to do this exercise for yourself if you feel like it. And just as a comment to Kerstin's experience with seeing the objects you have made, for me, that sounds a little bit like that there is a deep attachment to your family. Yeah, and you want to leave something behind from you, so you're remembered, and you still feel the connection, which is of course fine. However, on the spiritual journey, this would be something that needs to be loosened if you want to go into higher realms, because this is exactly what brings you back to reincarnate into your own family. However, which is cool. That's not, that's cool. We do that all the time, so that seems to be, for me, a little bit of a hinting in that direction.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback.
Okay, so what's next? Now let's talk about the concept of past lives. Now that we know we are actually not going anywhere, we are here and we can, adopt a new body, we can also understand why this is called a soul journey, because the soul, coming from the astral world, is literally journeying through different lives, lifetimes, experiences, different situations, different genders, different all sorts of things, right? On the soul journey, all emotions that are gathered, they need to be experienced and owned in order to move on. Otherwise, this emotion becomes your dominant emotion and you're in the astral world and you're kind of stuck with this, right? So the way to not be stuck with a certain emotion or the frequency of a certain emotion is to completely own it. Or I like another term that's actually from Ramta, if you know who that is. He said, you have to digest your emotions. They have to become part of you and transform into something else. Because if we are just looking at our emotions and are a little bit unsure whether we like them or we don't like them, then we are in this sort of resistance to it, and we cannot own them. And so they will haunt us, if you will. Yeah. Karen.
Thanks, Maya. Just one thing, just a slight differentiation in that, because that was interesting from Rantha in regards to digest it and therefore transformed, whereas when you first said experienced and owned, what came to mind was what you talked about in the last module when you talked about the hot potato and dropping it in regards. So we're not actually looking at it as experienced and owned and then an ability to release. We're looking at it in regards to experienced as an owned and an ability to transform and take on board within ourselves, and then that energy transmutes and then goes on.
That's correct, Karen.
Okay.
Because we want these emotions as food for our soul journey.
Yes, thank you.
That's exactly correct. Thank you. It's very observant. We don't want to let them go. We want to really become part of them. Our purpose here is to experience all of these emotions, to experience all of these frequencies, to experience everything and own them and become them, and then we can, that is the foundation of the next step, if you will, right? That is the nutrition that you need to grow if you would be a plant, for example, yeah? Or you know what I mean. So this is why I like this idea of digesting the emotion, right? So not resisting them. There is no bad or good emotion. They are there and you want them there and you want to experience them. And as more you experience them and as more you can digest them, as sooner you can experience another one, right? And then meaning that you're advancing as a soul. So with every emotion you have digested, you are practically advancing as a soul. To finally enter the world of light, enriched with the experience, meaning the digested emotion. So the world of light can only be entered and you can only stay there when you do not have a soul anymore, meaning that the soul, who is all the emotions that are not digested, is not needed anymore, because there are no undigested emotions. That is then the ultimate freedom from the soul journey. So we really appreciate and we really create this experience of just a thought comes just from me. You know, all this World Economic Forum hype craziness about creating transhumanism and AI and humans becoming half robot, half human. When you know AI, that's the thing that makes us so nervous, is if you have like an AI instead of your bank your banker, you have an AI, right? They have no emotions, right? They cannot grasp what you want. They can only have, digital information and transfer them around. So this whole agenda of becoming transhuman is against the spiritual world who are meant for us to have emotions, create emotions, digest emotions, and be enriched by emotions, right? So a computer cannot have that, a robot cannot have that. That's not going to happen. So for this, the humans are not replaceable, or the human experience cannot be replaced by any kind of digital mathematics. The other thing is about past lives is past lives are not linear. This is kind of a great misperception, because there are lots of lovely people who are doing past life regression, and it always looks like as if you are, let's say you have a past life 50 years ago, and then you have a past life 150 years ago, and then you have a past life, blah, 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 until you have been in the 2000 BC or in the whatever, things like that. That is not true, because the non-physical existence is not bound to space and time. There is no space, it's always here, and there is no time, it's always now. Yeah? So you can pop in and out of lives. That's not linear. You are not going back to the Middle Ages when you do a regression. Just the word is kind of proposing it a little bit, but the regression is going through the dimensions, really, and just find that dimension where your lifetime was, where whatever kind of trauma has been manifested in your soul, right? Because the soul keeps the information, of course, nothing else. These past lives are needed to work on karma. Is another Sanskrit word for action, meaning that an action has a reaction, or a cause has an effect. That's a spiritual law. So now we need to learn that, and we need to be aware of what kind of emotion we are creating with our actions in ourselves and others, right? Let's just take the victim-perpetrator situation. There is so let's say in one lifetime you are a victim. Yeah, you have been murdered by somebody, whatnot, and then you have all this emotion of angst and horror and what all of these emotions that a victim has. Yeah. Now the purpose of karma is that you are experiencing the same situation as a perpetrator. So you can balance, you can digest both emotions. So you have to come back. You choose a lifetime where you are actually becoming a perpetrator. Also to give somebody else a chance to feel what a victim is. Yeah? And for you to feel how a perpetrator feels and digest this emotion. And when you have digested all facets of being a victim and being a perpetrator, then this is done. And in your next lifetime and the next lifetime you come, there will be no threat anymore. You will neither be a victim nor a perpetrator. It's just not in your reality anymore. So this is why we always say in family constellation there is no good or bad, or the victim or the perpetrator, they belong together, but there is not a bad victim, bad perpetrator and a good victim. That's not the point. That's not how we look at it from this higher perspective of life's purpose, and also the family system's purpose, or the family soul's purpose. They're also not looking at that. In this case, the morphogenetic field wants us to reveal the information so we can own it, the family system. They can acknowledge it and own it, and therefore heal, because there is no such thing as a bad family member, regardless what they do. They have their purpose for their own lives and for the life of the others as well. The unborn soul is innocent and ignorant by nature. So the unborn soul, remember, the soul has also beginning and an end, because that's just everything. It's like a sausage has what has a beginning has an end. So the soul has a beginning and it therefore has also an end, although it's a really, really long time. But before the soul is created, if you will, right? It is innocent and ignorant in nature. There is no emotions, there is no experience, there is nothing, right? So everything needs to be experienced to make the soul rich and big, and to have all this experience that we can gain here on the physical plane. And then once everything has been experienced and everything has been digested, now the soul is kind of coming to an end. And then the spirit is free to go to the light without being drawn back by the soul into a new earthly experience. Every life experience is different also for every person. It's completely individual, right? So this is also why you can never conclude from yourself what others might think or do in a certain situation, because they don't. Yeah, they are guaranteed, and I think that is probably the most problematic in society, the most problematic thing for us, that we think some things are so clear. Why is not everybody thinking like this or behaving like this or doing that, right? But it's only for us. It only counts for us. So true freedom is to give everybody else the freedom to be also who they are and what they want to be. Then that's the teaching of Malcolm Southwood. He says there is a minimum of 144 lifetimes for every soul, which is a minimum. It's so bare. I mean, that is like every soul learns that's like this soul learns every lesson the first time, which is not realistic. So most likely there are thousands of lifetimes for each of us, right? Much more likely, because it's very easy to be trapped in an emotion. And as you know, change is not so easy. Yeah, and if you're used to something and you're comfortable and you don't want to go out of your comfort zone, then your soul is sticking with these emotions maybe for 100 lifetimes, right? Before it is ready to really look at it and digest it. The soul has a certain genetic imprint from the previous lifetime on Earth. So the soul doesn't remember, or let's say the soul doesn't give the body, that the new body it inhibits, memories. Not necessarily, some do, but not necessarily. But there is an imprint from the previous lifetime on Earth, which means the frequency of the emotion they come from in the astral world, which they have left in the last lifetime, is the same they come with. Because remember, they can't change in the astral world. So they come with this emotion, and now they need to create for themselves circumstances that make them aware of the emotion and give them the chance or the choice to change it, right? And then the soul needs to be bold enough to actually want to do that, right? The soul also needs a familiar environment for a smooth transition into a new body with a like genetic material. So this makes it then also likely that they experience pretty much the same, because the family pattern, because they're incarnating in the same family, the family has a pattern, now they are back in the same pattern, right? So you know this hamster in a wheel thing? Yeah? This is what a soul finds itself in often throughout lifetimes. So therefore we also see reincarnation into the same family system when we do family constellation. Yeah? Sometimes we can see that the same soul is present in 2 or 3 representatives. Until the soul has finished a certain stage and moves on to new experiences to reincarnate into a new environment, right? So this is when when a child grows up in a family and feels like what is the English term? Like an alien, or like an outcast, or not outcast, like a misfit, yeah. If that is a feeling of a child, and then that is most likely that this soul just made a step out of their comfort zone, out of their own family system they have incarnated for a long time, and has created for themselves a brand new one to step out of this hamster wheel, jump out of this hamster into another one, a bigger one or something. Yes, Karen.
Could that be that the soul feels like a misfit because they're in a new pattern of a family system? Or could it be that they feel like a misfit because they are no longer now fitting the old family system?
This is not the same thing?
No, because one is, like sometimes when we, like in physical world life, we may be in the same job, and we keep moving. So it's the same pattern. But at some point, we may feel like we no longer belong in that job, which means that we are ready to take on a new career or a new job. So that is different. That's about that you're still in the old family system, but you yourself, the soul itself, has changed enough that it's no longer identifying with the same family system. So it's likely in the next life they will choose a new family system that is more aligned to them. Versus what you were saying, which is when the soul has left the old family system, so it's like going to a new school and it feels a little bit like it doesn't belong.
I see your point. Yeah, I see your point. I think that's a good point. You very likely, I agree, very likely in your last lifetime you would already be the misfit. Yeah,
Okay.
because you can only change, or maybe the black sheep, if you will. You can only change in the physical realm. You cannot change in the astral world, meaning you come in your family system, you have the old pattern, and then something make you wanting to get out of there. Yeah.
Thanks.
So you're not born as a misfit into the family. You would work your way, you would become a misfit because you create for yourself opportunities. Let's say you are choosing a partner who doesn't fit in as well at all into the family, right? And then you decide against the family and go with the partner and create your own family and your own life, right? So meaning, if you are a family man, girl, and you love family over, like family is everything, and Christmas and everybody needs to be there, needs to be together, you're most likely in the hamster wheel. Yeah? Yeah, because if you don't, if you feel like that's actually not for me, then you are already one step out of this family system, right? And you're also leaving the family conscience, right? What they think it's good.
Could you word it like that you have outgrown the old system?
Yeah, you outgrow it because you are creating for yourself opportunities. Yeah, that make you can go another path. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you're then incarnating, and then you are incarnating in the completely new family system, that would be very odd for you. So you would feel there very odd because nothing is familiar to you, right? And that's probably where you feel like a misfit or something. Anybody felt like this in his family? Me too. Totally. My mother was going so far to say she can't believe that she has borne me. Very funny. By the way, Koi Ni, your video's off. You know that? Are you with us?
She left a message to say that she had to go away for 10 minutes. She will be back.
Thank you. Very good. Okay. So, the next life is designed in astral. So in astral world, you would think, oh, let's go back to the victim perpetrator example. You have been like a victim. You know how people are. There's Opfer type. They're always a victim. Like they you know, they're always the ones who get beaten. They're always the ones who are not being invited to, you know, they have always the ones maybe who've been abused, even sexual or whatnot. That pattern is likely like this hamster wheel. And now it would be time to go turn it around and be the perpetrator, right? But you can't do it without the physical plane. So you would in astral say, okay, I have enough. I always have these feelings of anxiety and pain and whatnot. What is a big? I want to now know what it feels like a perpetrator. This power, and maybe they feel joy. Maybe they don't. Maybe a perpetrator feels desperate. Who knows, right? So to experience that, they create a new life in astral. The in-betweeners, now coming back to our trapped souls out of attachment or addictions. So the in-betweeners are going back to the same life situation. They have no choice. They have no time to ponder. They are basically confused or sleeping in the in-between world, either or, right? But they have no chance to ponder on their emotion, yeah. And they got, so every time in between is exceeding 144 lifetimes anyhow, right? Because they go right back where they started, same situation. Rosemary, where they left, I mean, not start.
Are you talking about the in-betweener, like attached spirits?
So yeah, for example, they can be attached. They don't need to be attached.
So in a way, they haven't gone through all the way, but they will be reborn.
Yeah, they will be either reborn or they dwell there forever, which reminds me of the hell thing, the Christian hell scenario. Yeah. So stay away from addictions and attachments. So, what is karma? And what are soulmates and twin flames? So I think we talked about karma, so we have covered that. So what are soulmates and twin flames? I just recently learned from my trainees that the word we use in German for soulmates is actually something else here. So now this is called twin flames, right? So soulmates are just people you like, right? You like to be together with. Is that true? Is that how you use it in English? So when I'm talking about soulmates, or I maybe use the term twin flame, I'm talking about that one soul is dividing into two genders at one stage of the dimensions that they come from, right? So when we're coming from oneness, oneness is where there's no individuality and of course also no gender. Then this oneness is, I always think of it like a cloud, and then the cloud forms into smaller clouds, and the former clouds are individuals, right? They are individualized souls, if you will. And now they go denser and denser through the dimensions, and at one stage they need to divert into genders, male and female, to experience both sides, like all the emotions from both sides, right? One from the female side and one from the male side. And then they go further through the dimension until they become humans, and then they go through their incarnation cycles, 144 lifetimes or more. And then they eventually, work their way up, if you will, up through the dimensions again. And at one stage, they are finding together again, and then they are ascending together. That's the concept of what in German is called soulmates. What I think it's in English probably more twin flames. Yeah. That meaning is that it is very likely that in your lifetimes that you go back in regressions, you have the same gender. So it is not very likely that you, being a female now, that you will regress, if you do a regression for yourself, that you are seeing yourself as a man, right? It can happen. It's not that it doesn't, but your lifetimes are most likely the same gender. However, if you feel in this lifetime drawn to another gender, then you are might right now in a lifetime where you don't have your soul gender, right? And that's maybe where a lot of transgendering comes from. I don't know. I haven't seen that in a family constellation yet. But that is the concept of the twin flame. So it is not romantic. It has nothing to do with somebody you life partnership or anything like this. Yes, it is another gender for sure, but it can be an old man and you can be a young woman, or the other way around, or it could be also a brief encounter, and then you part away again. So it is nothing that is meant to be lived out in this physical plane, right? It's not necessary, and it's not meant to do as well. So that's just the concept of how you experience your own cycles from a specific gender. Because your twin flame experience exactly the same as a male. So, and then you would kind of bring that together at one point in one dimension when you ascend to the spiritual realm, to the light. And then we have the concept of the soul family. So you might have heard of this word. You have a soul family, and your physical family is not the soul family, which is actually correct. There is this family of, so there is a soul family, and the soul, as you now know, is when you're in the astral world in a specific emotion. That is your soul family. So the people, the souls that are joining at this stage of your journey, the same. That are, for example, being the victim example again, going through a lot of pain, then you would have a soul family in the astral world, in your color, who also go through this particular kind of pain, right? And then that is your soul. So you feel very welcomed and very understood in the astral world. If it's not the lower, let's put it that way. You do in every level of the astral world, you would feel at home, yeah, understood and cared for, and because it's kind of everybody seems to understand you there, which we all want, right? We all long for that. And then we have the spiritual family. The spiritual family is also called the family of 17, or your true home. This is a family, this is like 17 souls that are not sharing the same emotions, but they intend to reincarnate together. So if you have the feeling that you have known people around you, they are very familiar to you, even if you haven't known them for long, or you have this feeling of déjà vu, that you know somebody who you have never met before, that is most likely that is a part of your spiritual family. Because the spiritual family, they come from different astral worlds, but they like to reincarnate together to work on their issues together, right? So one is the perpetrator, one is the victim. Now they like to swap roles in next lifetime, although they're in different astral planes. And then they come, one is the perpetrator, the other one is the victim again. So that is the spiritual family, and it's supposedly is the number 17 here that I have learned. That is the amount of people that you always intend to reincarnate with. These are the familiar faces you met on Earth, and then there's often this misunderstanding. We have met in a past life, like people say that. Oh, we must have met in the past life. That is highly unlikely. Other than you are always together in lifetimes. So it wouldn't be a random meeting in a past life. So it would be one of the 17 of your spiritual family that you are so familiar with, that you think you have met before. But in a different role, of course. There would be in a different role. We talked about the misfit, so we can skip that. And let's have a word about traditional belief systems. So there are so many belief systems about past lives. And as I said at the beginning of this module, I don't want you to add a new belief system or dismiss your own belief system if you have one about it. That's not the purpose of what I'm talking about. I'm giving you explanation and a concept to work with on your own self-development or with clients, because it works. It has been proven to work, right? And the other thing is, as we did the little exercise with Shavasana, you really don't want to go with any belief system anyhow. You want to go with what is truth. And truth is only that what you can experience for yourself. Otherwise, you need to believe in it, right? It's either or. And when you need to believe in something, that means it cannot be proven. That's the definition of a belief, yeah? Then I would be very careful about that and to adopt that as a guideline or something like this, right? Because you don't know if it's true, and you're just following. You know, you can take a path that leads you away from your spiritual development and your path to freedom and self-realization if you follow too much belief systems. Yeah. So the belief system about past lives coming from transmitted scriptures, and as you know, history is his story, the story of the what is the English term, of the dominators of the victory. So must not be true, right? Just understand that. All religions are belief systems by definition, otherwise they wouldn't be a religion. And the truth can only be directly experienced by everyone, right? That is truth. If we can experience that in our physical body, or we experience that in our spiritual body or in our emotional body, that doesn't matter. Experience is experience, right? If it cannot be experienced in any of those, then it's probably a belief, or it should be as a belief as long as you don't experience it, or until you experience it. Let's go through reincarnation in a nutshell. When we come to the end of life, we are expected to let go of all it once held, unless we intend to return and repeat the experience. These are words from Malcolm Southwood. When we come to the end of life, we are expected to let go of all it once held, unless we intend to return and repeat the experience. So now a little bit of a sidetrack before we go back to our regression work. I want to briefly talk about the sole cause of a fatal and a severe disease. Diseases that can or most likely will cause the death of the body. Yeah. So, and these I have from Malcolm Southwood, and it's also in one of the books that I have recommended in the list of books. Yeah. Whenever you are working with a severe illness in a child 7 and under, or maybe 10 and under, yeah, this is most likely caused by a entanglement in the family system and in a past life, yeah, because the child would probably not, the child itself would probably not have adopted already any emotions that need to be looked at, right? Of course, in early childhood trauma, that's a different thing. So with children, we never do a regression, but we can do a family constellation when the parents want to perform that as a constellator, yeah? If we're looking at a kidney disease, this is the feeling of being trapped. If we're looking at a bladder problem, mainly in women, it is a loss of control. Then when we're looking at breast issues, mother issues. Lungs are a synonym for unshed tears, unlived grief. So here we find the trauma, or we find that what the person is grieving for, either in their own life or in the family entanglement. Problems with the digestive tract, and we are talking about problems that can lead to death, so cancer, for example, or something else. There are problems in a relationship, maybe their own problems, most likely a problem that they have been entangled with in another relationship. Leukemia is overwhelmed with responsibilities. I know a personal case where a woman 50 just turned 50, very successful, money, 3 children, everything fine, boom, got leukemia from within days. And then I remember when I thought about it, I saw sure she had so much going on. She felt so responsible. But that's not why it's here. It's here because Malcolm South would say so. I just want to assure you that I have actually can have experienced that with somebody. Pancreas problem with making decisions, life-threatening decisions, right? Brain tumor and such, spiritual conflict. There is a war going on in the head, literally. And the throat is incapability to answer, to set the foot down, or the feeling of being powerless. That is leading to severe throat diseases. In the prostate, that is based on that a man loses his power, and that often happens when men retire, because a lot of men are perceiving they have power over their job, their position. And then we have the liver and bile, and that is hinting at an unreleased anger. Is there something else coming? Yeah, one more. Bone and skin is self-destruction and a low self-esteem. That's what we're looking at. So, if you want to know more about that, go ahead and read the books. Very interesting. I think it's in my mobile home. I'm not sure. It's one of the 2 that are on Amazon in digital, in Kindle edition. Okay, so the break is coming up. And then after that, we will look at regressions and how we perform that and make an exercise, of course. All good? Yes, Rosemary, you go. Any questions to what was here before?
Yeah. Where does the soul get the idea from being born, or how does it start?
That I don't know.
So
I don't know.
So
I think so. In my world, I always think of this cloud or whatnot. This oneness, the one, so the soul of the world, and then there must be this desire to experience individuality. So when we desiring to become one, that's a way back. And where's this desire coming from? So there must be a desire to experience, to not be oneness, to experience individuality. And if there is a desire, there is creativity. Yeah. Because you have energy, and then the information comes, and then this is created. So this is what I think, how individual souls are being created. But that's only my personal thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you much. I have something else with the 144 lifetimes as a minimum. I find it very interesting, the number. It's in the Bible. It's another 144,000, making it to the heavenly kingdom, to whatever. It's the same number.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So as far as I remember from Malcolm South, it has to do with astrology. and with the sun years and things like that, and something like that. Very much, I don't know, very mathematically. But interesting that it seems to be also mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah, it's a magic number. It always comes up.
Yeah, well, in numerology, 144 is a 9, and 9 is a fulfillment, right? Fulfill a cycle. So that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, so we meet back here at on the full hour.
Thank you.
So let's talk about regressions finally. Regressions is the method how we can access past life traumas and early childhood traumas. Oh gosh, hang on. I'll be back in a sec.
Gotta go. I've just had a shower. I'm just trying to get ready because I've got to go out as soon as we're after this. So I'll be back in a sec. I'm going to do my hair.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hello, Kirsten. Hey, I so wanted to visit you, but I hope it will go ahead tomorrow. Yeah, whatever.
Did you have a visit from Willie today?
Did he come?
Yeah, he should have.
Did he bring a jar?
Yeah.
It was him. Well, you see, we were away. We were away dropping off lambs I sold. So we weren't here.
Pardon?
We weren't here. We
Oh,
weren't
okay.
at home.
So because he's not home yet, and I was wondering where he is now.
Oh, I can't. Maybe at Oxus and maybe.
Yeah, he will be somewhere. That's okay. So yeah, that's it's Apfelmus.
Yeah, it looks delicious. Yeah, we just found it. Peter said, "Look at this. I think it's from Helga. She wants to drop off the dog again."
Oh, so just please keep the jar, please. Okay, don't throw the jar away.
I know they're really expensive.
Yeah, I got them from the dump, but I just wanted to say don't.
Okay. Yeah, it's all yours, Maya. We shut up.
Okay, so okay, so regressions. First of all, what is a regression, and why does a client need a regression? We talk about that. So first of all, what is a regression? A regression is, if you will, a guided meditation where you lead the client in alpha state back, we say in time, if it's an early childhood trauma, or into a past life. So that's the two regressions that we normally do. And the purpose for that is to release a memory, either from this or from a past life, or to get rid of a possessive energy or an attached spirit, or to find the sole cause of a specific disease. So that's very similar to family constellation, and there's a lot of crossovers. And when does a client need the regression is when he has a trauma, a childhood trauma, or a trauma in a past life, or when he's under the influence of foreign energies. How do we perform a regression is now what we look in a step-by-step instruction, yeah? And I have made this 9 steps. I have like danced it down to this 9 steps so you can memorize it better and it is more structured. However, when one is in a regression, you need to be guided by the morphogenetic field. What is the next step, right? So this is just to give you a guideline. What, like in general, is always needed, but that doesn't mean that it is only 9 steps, right? It can be more. that comes up. So first of all, the client needs to be in alpha state, and we talk about what that is. Secondly, you as the facilitator guide the client back to the source of the problem. We are not saying if a client comes with, let's say they have a liver disease, yeah, we are not saying you go back to the source of your liver disease. We are saying to the problem. Because as you now know, the client might not nail it, and it's not a problem with the liver. They just perceive it as, perceive it as a problem with the liver. So we always keep this open, the question, and always say, go back to the source of the problem. Then the third step is to affirm while you guide your client through alpha state in and back to the source of the problem, that they are free of fear, guilt, or shame, and that they are safe. So they need to understand that in the state of in alpha state, that they are safe, right? And there is no fear. That's important. You have to repeat a regression in the case of or you have to repeat the step 1, 2, 3 in the case of a false memory. I will talk to you about what that is later. You have, or you will find the situation by asking concrete questions. And I will demonstrate the concrete questions about the situation that the client sees in front of their closed eyes. Yeah. And then the big question is always, this is the biggest question, but it is not the first for several reasons, but it's the big question is who is with you? Because the trauma is only when it was an interaction with somebody else, right? There must be an interaction with somebody else. Let's make an example. If somebody goes hiking and a rock falls on them and they die, they don't have a trauma. They just die. Yeah? But if somebody is standing up, pushing the rock with the intent to kill, either deliberately or they don't care, they are aware that they could kill them and push the rock down, and then it kills, then it becomes a trauma through the interaction of emotion, the emotion of somebody else. Yeah, this violent emotion. Yes, Karen.
But if somebody has a near-death experience, say nearly drowning, and therefore they are frightened for their life, and there is the emotion of fear coming up because they fear losing their life.
Yes. Then yeah, you do a regression.
That would create trauma, wouldn't it, without an interaction? But the emotion itself is created within the being out of fear. Yeah,
that can also be created. You're right. It can also create it in your own emotion, but that is pretty much the only. So it's when the death takes long, so you have time to create this kind of emotion for yourself.
Yes,
so
like for
drowning
example,
might be a good example, but a rock hitting you not, because this is a surprise for you.
And you've died.
Yeah, and then you just die.
So, for example, I have a friend who was in the tsunami in Samoa, and she talked about what it meant, and she nearly died, and it took a long time for physical recovery, but what it meant for her for mental recovery as well. Mental emotional recovery from the trauma.
Definitely. When we talk about past lives, however, it always leads to death. There is no near-death trauma. When we are going in a regression into a past life, it is always the death experienced.
Okay,
right?
So had she died in that situation, for example?
It could have.
Okay. Because
could have caused the trauma that you can access, or that will cause in the next life problems.
Okay.
Yeah? And the problem can be a liver problem. because
Mm.
obviously she wouldn't remember that she was in a tsunami. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So there's no doubt that any impact of your life causes you traumas, but you know, nothing that is not causing you death will manifest in the soul as a trauma that is manifesting in a disease that then made you want to have a regression.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. So, but I like this example with the drowning. That's probably one that I can think of that where you create this emotion for yourself. This struggle. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, but most often, most often, it has an interaction with somebody else that is causing the trauma. Yeah. Because you need this. I remember the feeling of guilt or shame. Otherwise, a trauma is not caused. So coming back to Karen's example, if you drown and you are ashamed because you did something, I'm just making something up, right? You drown because you're ashamed at the same time because your mother told you not to go there and you did it anyhow, and now you're drowning. There's a possibility that this is creating a trauma for the soul. But most likely it is an interaction with somebody else who is, especially when the child dies, is imbuing you with this idea of guilt or shame. Yeah, so that's most likely the case. So therefore, the most important question is, who is with you? And because it's so traumatic, you cannot ask that at the start, because the client wouldn't see it. You have to work your way towards who's with you. So then you find the traumatic scene and what has been said. It can be right the scene that your client is in, or it could be a little bit before or after that scene. So sometimes you have to go back 10 minutes or half an hour or an hour, and sometimes you have to wind forwards an hour, yeah, because it's not always exactly the scene that they are looking at that is actually causing the trauma. Remember, you have to find the guilt or the shame. If that's not in the scene, then you have to go forward or backward in time. Then the kind of the sentence of resolution is that the client can say in this past life, I have nothing to do with this, I leave it with you, I am free to walk away, I am innocent, something like that, right? Overriding the trapped, remember, trauma is just caused when you can't get away. Overriding this idea from being trapped in the situation by giving the client choices, power back, the power back over the situation. In case of an abuse or a horror, like a sexual abuse or really bad abuse, yeah, you have to take the client out of the situation because they will not be able to look at it without being attached to this traumatic emotion of abuse or horror. So in this case, we would take them out there and float with them, if you will, under the ceiling or somewhere without no emotions, and they only look at the emotional body. Right? So they leave the emotional body as the person or the child in the scene behind, and they are looking from above without emotion. And then they can report to you what they actually see. Right? And then you observe together with him, with the client, what's going on there with this emotional body that obviously has a physical presence as well, which can be described. Then you ask the client to go in as a grown-up and push if it's a perpetrator, the perpetrator away from the child, if it was a child in this picture, and take the child, which is always the emotional body or the soul, out of the situation, yeah. And remember, the child in a regression or in a guided meditation is always representing from an adult point of view the soul child. So there the situation where in the childhood trauma, where the trauma has happened to the child, is where the adult is still trapped in, literally. So the traumatized person leaves the soul at the stage of the child behind. So this is why we have to pick them up and bring them together again. So that is the meaning of going in as an adult and pushing the perpetrator away and taking the child back out of the situation, back to be united again with the adult person. Yeah. And then if it is a case of abuse or horror, you need on top to perform a spiritual healing, which I will explain to you in a few minutes. And then you can come to a close of the session, that meaning you guide your client out of the alpha state back into the room where he or she is sitting, and making sure that they feel relaxed and that they can remember everything, and then that they be able to open their eyes. And the bonus is, when you're very experienced and you feel very safe about what you're doing, then you would say to the client, you can open your eyes when I count to 3, when the problem has been solved. Why am I saying that you don't do that at the beginning? Because what are you doing if they don't open their eyes? Right? Too risky. So you don't do that. You just, have a few years of experience with regressions, and then you would actually be able to what to do when they don't open their eyes. That's what I want to say. Okay. So childhood regression is pretty much similar. Just a couple of tweaks here. You guide your client to an alpha state. Yeah. You bring them in a guided meditation to a safe space, the happy space, what not. Yeah. Then they need to see themselves as a child. And I always ask them to look on the feet first, because you need to be really precise and small steps with your inquiry into who's there, who sees what, who's doing what, because otherwise you would lose them. They cannot just tell you everything they see, because that's too confusing. No? They need to be guided to look at specific things. So look at your feet. What size of feet are they? Are they small? Are they big? Do you wear shoes? Or are you barefoot? And most often they would say, "Oh yeah, they are really little." And then you would say, "Okay, look up your legs. Do you wear clothes?" And then they would probably say, "No, I don't wear any clothes." And then you would say, "Okay, how old are you?" Because you are assuming it's a baby, because, naked. And then they would say, "I'm very, very small. I'm probably 6 months old or so." So you need these little steps that they can actually connect with what they actually see in their regression. If they cannot answer, if they know it's a child, but they cannot tell you what age it is, then you not go further than 7 years. So 5 years is safe to say. Okay, then you say to your client, "Okay, see yourself as 5-year-old." Then you continue with the regression as before. The steps 1 to 9, and maybe perform the spiritual healing in case of abuse or horror. And then you guide them out of the meditation back to the present room. Pretty much the same as said before. So now, when I say you need to perform a spiritual healing, that is normally reserved to the cases of 95% sexual abuse of children. But it can be any other abuse or horror as well, right? So in this case, when you come to this, the child is so the child, the soul is still trapped in this feeling of shame often, yeah, and feels dirty, yeah. So this kind of emotional, spiritual dirt, not like filthy, like feels really dirty, and then you would perform a spiritual healing to clean the soul from this, yeah. So that means you take the child into heaven with you. I pretty much always say cloud or something like that. Doesn't matter what it is. And then imagine a light shower washes the dirt away from the child, right? So a light shower, like a shower in your bathroom, that is washing in and outside, inside as well, also the cells, not only the body. So, and then this dirt that washes away, then your client should actually see that. So you would guide your client to follow the stream of dirt and see how it dissolves into the ocean or whatnot. So it is gone. It's like the same with this, with the color, with sending an attached spirit into the color. You need to make your client be aware and see that this is dissolving, that it's gone. Otherwise, it's not gone, right? They need to really, it's same here. They need to see how this dirt is gone, right? Which is the shame, basically, or the guilt of the incident. Then all gaps are filled with light, but this is not the light from the shower, that's the light of the child. So coming from the heart, from the center, the heart center, right? So there's just, you would say, imagine there's a light like the sun or something in your heart center, chest center, and then that would the rays would radiate into the body and into all other bodies, the emotional and the spiritual body, and it would fill in every gap, because what is washed away needs to be filled up again, right? And that would be that, inside and out. Then you would dress, or you would suggest that the client dresses the child in new clean clothes. Best color is always white. And also to make it look nice, nice hair, like if it's a girl with flowers in the hair or something like that. So it really looks pretty and feels good about itself and feels really loved. Yeah. And then the client can ask the child for a gift. Sometimes that helps, not always, but sometimes it helps. And then you can advise the client to buy actually that what he saw as a gift for the child, and to keep it close to him for a while, so he can reinstate this the soul child that he has lost in the trauma is with him, yeah, or with her. Then you would suggest that the client takes the child into their heart and affirm, from now on, nothing can harm you. I will protect you at all times. We are always together. So we are sealing the uniting of the soul again that has been left behind, the traumatized soul. And then we come to a closing, which is basically the closing of the regression in general. So nothing special here. Right. So, brief talk about alpha state. We touch it here and there. Alpha state is necessary, or the client needs to be in alpha state in order to work with the subconscious mind. Otherwise, the subconscious mind would not be willing to work with you. The alpha state is a realm of the subconscious mind where it reveals its information. The alpha state is between 20 and 34 hertz, which is above sleep and below hypnosis. So we are not this regression is not in a state of hypnosis. Yeah. So I'm not a hypnotizer anyhow, and we are not using hypnosis, right? This is we are also not using suggestions. We're asking the client questions. The client is guiding us through his own experience. And the client himself is guided by the subconscious mind in alpha state, because the subconscious mind knows what happened. It has stored that information and hid it somewhere. You always say in present tense. You not say, because you know you're going back in time in childhood, you not say, what did you wear? You say, what do you wear? Because if you would say, what did you wear, he has to think about it, because he goes in his memory about his childhood. But you don't want to think, you want to be with him in alpha state. You want that he is revealing what was actually happened through his subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind can hide behind time, but not in the moment. Yeah? So the subconscious mind can only collaborate in the present tense. And sometimes you have a client who always, you suggest, what do you wear? And then they say, I think I have worn a green trousers when I was 6. And then you know, he's not in alpha state. Yeah? So these are the hints that you get. And then you can either do something else, go into a family constellation with him, in a guided meditation, or you repeat step 1 and guide him into alpha state. So, a couple of tips about past life regressions in general. They are only for the adult. For some reason, we don't do that with children. I learned that. I cannot really explain to you why, but so I have learned not to work with children. So they need to be adults. The intention is to access a past life that is causing the problem, right? Don't forget the intention. We are not going looking for when the client think she was a princess or a witch or whatnot, right? That's not like for curiosity. It is about solving a deep-rooted problem in this life. It's much like the intention you set for a family constellation. Yeah. The information will come from the clothing, the environment, or a thought, or a memory, or an emotion. So there are hints. It's again the hints, the same as in a family constellation. You're looking for the hints that you then follow step by step. Yeah, and this is why you can do this work if you are quite imaginative. If you can see, if somebody is describing something, you can see it. And you can train that, right? So if you close your eyes and somebody's describing a situation, then you can actually see who's there, see how they move, see what they do. That helps tremendously when you are guiding past life regression. And that goes also for facilitating a family constellation, because it is good if you see actually the situation that comes up in a family constellation in front of your eyes, in inner eyes. Yeah. You have to ask very precise. There is no room for error or interpretation. You ask very simple, very precise questions to your client, and you do that in a slow pace, as always, also in family constellation. And now we talk about false memories. Remember a few charts, a few sheets before, I said be aware of the trap of false memories. And that's important because more than 80% of perceived past life experiences are false memories. They have never happened, right? Because the subconscious mind hides a current trauma behind a past life scenario, especially if the therapist works with regressions often, because then the subconscious mind knows how to trick them, right? So that's interesting. If you have a mixed basket that you do with clients, like family constellation and maybe whatever, another thing, and then you also work with regressions, it is more likely that you don't hit a false memory. But if you are offering your service only for past life regressions, you will hit the 80% mark if you do regression. So A good example, and I guarantee you it's a false memory, is if the client sees a poor little girl or poor little boy in rags, dirt on the feet in a dark room that looks like a well or a dungeon. Yeah, if they described a medieval scenario, right? That is guaranteed a false memory. Or the opposite, when they see themselves as a princess riding a camel or anything like this. So these are false memories. The traumatic experience are normal people living their normal lives, being, especially as children, exposed to the brutality of adult people, right? That is normally what causes the trauma, not this extraordinary circumstances. So what are we doing with the false memory? We go back to step 2 or so, because they are still in alpha state. We don't need to guide them in alpha state again. We would just, and you see that in the demonstration, you would say, okay, this is not it. We are going there where the real problem lies when I count to 3 now. Yeah. So you have to, sometimes you have to repeat this twice until you hit a real memory and not a false one. So that's exactly how you deal with them. And we also use the method of regressions to release actually attached spirits. So we go in alpha state. We ask the client to go to the current problem or the current pain. Often it's a pain. And then we ask, whom do you see? And in this time, we are assuming that they don't see themselves as a child, or they don't see themselves in a past life, but that they actually see another person they know. And even if you don't know that they have an attached spirit, if you do a regression and you are at step 3 and somebody else comes up that they actually know from this life, then, or somebody that that feels like they know them, although they cannot describe them correctly, then that can be an attached spirit. You ask if they can see the person in a color. Of course, we want to work with colors with attached spirits, so there comes the color into play, other than in a past life or early childhood regression where you don't need a color. And then you send the person and all his or energies into this color, as we have practiced yesterday. I just want to remind you to be gentle with the spirit and don't force it. It won't go. You have to convince it. And the way to convince a lost soul to go to their true home is to open their eyes to the fact that they cannot stay here because they are trapped. And that there are others waiting, which is their soul family, in their color. And that is normally convincing the spirit to let go and go home. Because remember, often they are trapped because they are confused. And if they would know how to go home, they would go home. And you are providing the service here, not only for your client, but also for the lost soul, to guide them to their way home. Again, you fill any remaining space with light in the client because the spirit is attached somewhere. Have I mentioned before that spirits most often attach to an organ, especially here in the belly area or the neck? That's most often the places where they attach to. So you want to fill in this space with light, with their own light. And you also want to keep the soul child at the side of the client if they have, for example, caught the spirit as a child. Yeah, and that is kind of traumatic, and the child is still stuck. The emotion is still stuck there. So you can always, if you suspect that that is the case, you can say, so what you want is that the client is holding their own soul child, so the soul child is not following the attached spirit into the color. So if you're suspicious that that could happen or might be the case, then especially if they cannot really part, if the client feels like they don't want to let go, then you would suggest that they hold the soul child by the hands on the side and watch both how the spirit goes into the color and how the color vanishes. And then if that is the case, if there was the soul child trapped in this situation, then you would do the same as in the other regression. You would suggest the client to take the soul child into the heart and bring it back into today when they go out of the regression. So it's with them. And then you close the session coming out of the regression and open eyes. So that was in a nutshell how we do a regression in the case of past life, early childhood trauma, and attached spirit. Just slightly differences, following all the same steps more or less. Yeah. The same is with releasing possessive energies. Possessive energies are the milder form of a spirit. Remember, the spirit is a soul who is an identified individual with a predominant emotion in form of a soul who is trapped or lost or attached or addicted to something on earth. And when you have possessive energies, it's something we all catch quite easily if we are in a defensive state. For example, and somebody yells at us, then the anger could, you could catch this anger, and you all know that. You carry that with you a while, and then you think, oh, that's not even me, yeah. And as soon as you are aware of it, you can let it go. But what happens if you're not aware of it? Then you need help. That somebody else helps to you to let go of it, right? That is what we call the possessive energies. So same thing, going in alpha state, going to the problem or the pain or the emotion that the client cannot let go of, yeah? Then we ask what shape, texture, consistency, or color he or she sees, yeah? To make it visual, pretty much like we did with the spirit, yeah? And then the object is sent into the color. So instead of sending somebody who has more or less a human shape or form, it's just an object, like we have practiced yesterday. That was releasing an emotion or a possessive energy. It's the same thing, yeah? And then you fill the remaining space with light. And again, you can keep the soul child on the side of the client if that is necessary. And do the same step with taking the child into the heart and into today. And then there is the closing. So the same steps, more or less, in whatever you do. You just have to alter it a little bit. If it's a spirit, possessive energy, a childhood trauma, or a past life. Okay, so now we look at all of this, having said and done, in the context of a family constellation. So you would, in a family constellation, choose a representative for the client, for the possessive energy or the spirit, the attached spirit, and another person for later. So 3 persons. The other person for later is most likely the home, the soul family of the attached spirit, or the color for the possessive energy. Yeah, that would be represented by a third party. Yeah. Observe the movement of the representatives just to be sure you are dealing with a possessive energy or attached spirit. That is when this second representative who's chosen for the possessive energy sticks really close to the client. It is kind of obvious, and the client is kind of not aware of it. the representative of the client. So it's kind of knows there's somebody, and it's kind of okay, a little bit uncomfortable, but wherever the representative of the client goes, the possessive energy would go with them. Yeah, and then this is pretty obvious that that is the case of an attachment, if you will. And then you take your time, because these souls, they move, so there's not much you need to do actually. You know, you just observe to start with. So don't interact too quickly with them. And then when you are 100% sure we have a possessive energy or even a detached spirit here in the representative of the second person, then you would ask the client to look at this representative, yeah, and see if they see a color. And they often do. And then you place a third representative that you have called in earlier at the end of the room, and this is the color, and you say, you are the color. Like if the client says, I see green, then you would say to the third representative, you are the color green. Yeah? You are the realm where this spirit or this energy belongs to. And then you would ask the second representative of the possessive energy to turn around and just look, take a look at the third person. Just, just look. And then they most likely will be twist and torn between liking what they see and wanting to stay where they are. That's normally what you see. Because they're attached, and that's all they know for now, but they feel that whatever they see at the end of the room is inviting and something they might want as well. So then you need to use our strong words to detach the client from the energy, right? And as you know, that's the thank you. So although it sounds weird, why shall I say thank you to the energy who has invaded me? This is just it helps you to detach and let go and cut the cords, right? And it is never by coincidence that somebody has been attached to you in your life. There's always something, even if you don't know it yet, that you can be thankful for, some lesson here, something. So the sentence of resolution is to say thank you for staying with me for a while. Now it's time to part. Or you belong to someone else, not me. Or if it's a really nasty energy, you cannot stay. And if I find a really nasty energy or spirit that is clingy, then I say, you cannot stay with him. That's against the spiritual laws or the universal laws. And they understand that. Then you would insist, look at the third person. This is your home. They are waiting for you. And guide this energy, or this representative for the energy or the spirit, to be acquainted with the idea that they might have another way, and the way is what you show them, the way to the color, to the third person. And then, sometimes slowly, sometimes faster, they would be able to go over to the third person. And that's then the healing movement, of course. You must make sure that the client is watching the procedure until they are with the color, and that they both, the second and the third representative, are turning around and going away. And I would suggest out of the room even. So you would suggest to them, go through the door, close the door behind you. So then for the client, they are gone. And then you can finish the constellation or close it. Okay, now it's time for our exercise. I will do a regression with one of you. And then when you have enough time and you feel you're up to it, you would test your muscles and do a little mini regression with your partner. Does it sound all right? You don't need to hit all the 9 steps. This is, you just do whatever you remember and work your way through. That doesn't need to be a full regression. It's an exercise. Yeah? Okay. So let me just check. I can stop sharing and start working with you guys. So, who wants to volunteer? Karen, all right.
You want me unmuted? I guess I do need to be, don't I?
Yes.
Unless
Thanks.
somebody else wants to.
No, it's your turn. Why not?
Okay.
Okay. So, do you have something in your mind? A problem you want to look at?
No, not offhand. Do you want me to think of a problem?
No, we can. It's just a demonstration. So we can just, we
Okay.
see where you go. Yeah. We see where it leads us. All right. So, you sit upright. You relax your shoulders. You close your eyes. You start to deep breathing, focusing on your breath in and out. Feel how your belly is coming in and out with your breath. With every breath you take, you relax more. Let go of thoughts, emotions, expectations, or worries. And with every breath you take, you sink deeper into your inner self, place where you are safe, in control, place where there's no fear, no emotion of guilt or shame. And in this place, you set your intention to find that what has caused your problem, either as a child or in a past life. And when I count to 3, you will clearly see and observe the situation where the problem has been caused. 1. And you will be without any fear, guilt, or shame and able to look at it in great detail. 2. And you can see who was there, what has been said, where you are, without any emotional involvement, like an observer or a scientist looking through the microscope. 3. With your eyes closed, tell me what you see.
I'm being strangled.
Mm-hmm. Do you see being strangled or do you feel being strangled?
I'm looking at me being strangled.
Very good. Very good. Can you see the clothes you're wearing?
Um, yeah, it's a green dress with a sort of an apron thing on the front of it.
Hmm. Do you wear shoes?
One's off.
Hmm. How old are you?
I'm adult. I'm under. Feel like I'm an adult, I'd say that, but I think I'm under 20, but I feel grown up.
Hmm. Very good. Are you inside or outside?
I'm outside.
What is underneath your feet?
Nothing. I'm lying on the ground. I'm being held down.
Hmm. Are you lying on your back?
Yeah.
Hmm. What can you see from where you're lying?
Um, it's a man on top of me, and he's got a black hat on.
Hmm.
And there's a square silver buckle on the hat.
Hmm. Can you scream? Do you know this man?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Not family. He's just from the village.
Hmm. Why is he strangling you? What did you do? Just 10 minutes before.
He followed me.
Hmm. How do you feel being followed by him?
I didn't know.
What do you not know?
I didn't know he was following me. Um,
Mhm. So now that he's strangling you, you are surprised.
Revolted. He stinks. Stinks.
Mm.
Um, he's so angry.
Hmm. Very good. Now I would like you to come in into the scene and push the man away. Can you do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Very. And then you take this young woman in your arms and you say to the man, "Stop. You cannot hurt her. She's under my protection."
Mm-hmm.
What is he doing?
He's on the ground looking up at us
Hmm.
and looking startled and
Very good.
a bit frightened.
Very good. Very good. How is the young woman feeling?
She's shaken.
Hmm. Say to her, "I am with you here now."
Mhm.
I am here, and I always have been here to protect you.
Mhm.
And I always will protect you. Mhm. How's she feeling now?
Safe. She's just hugging in.
Very good. Very good. Now give her a big hug and let her melt into your heart. So you become one, inseparable. How does that feel?
Yeah, that feels good.
Very good. And when I count to 3, you will be back in your room. 1, where you feel the heaviness of your body on the chair, and you will remember everything. 2, and when the problem has been solved, you will be able to open your eyes. 3. Ah, here she is. Very good. So, how was that for you?
Yeah, that was fairly easy. You know, there's always the fear at the start that you're not gonna, you know, like that you're not gonna go anywhere or bring anything up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how it takes to the very last minute, and then it's like that, a bit like the feet, you know, and the things disappearing. Like yep, got my foot, and then bang, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just a matter of trusting that process.
It's a matter of trusting, and it's also the matter of practicing this with your friends
Mm.
and family, because um, it is. I don't know how to explain that, but with practice and experience, you guide somebody in alpha state, and when you start, it is hard,
Mm.
to guide somebody in alpha state. So it's just what the path. Anyhow, what helps is this counting to 3 as you said, as you have seen. And why just one thing I want to add, why I have asked you to go back 10 minutes. We have not quite found the guilt on shame here, right? I just want to make you aware of it, because this was a demonstration. I didn't want to spend more time. If it would have been a real client situation,
So-
I would have gone further
and I
back.
Yes, and I did find the guilt and shame too much. It was and I feel it was either an uncle. I thought it was the father, but now I think it may be the uncle of a boy who I was a love interest.
Uh-huh. So you felt that, you didn't say that, but it was there, right?
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Very good. So then if we would find the guilt and shame, then we would know that it is a real problem or the real situation that has caused this trauma that led to the death of the young woman in that lifetime. And then you can take the woman out of the situation and reveal her from any guilt or shame. Yeah, why you would only add to her, it's not your fault, it was not your decision. You can be in love with whomever you want to. It is your right to be in love with whoever you want to. Yeah, that would be added then.
Okay.
If you would find you find the guilt and shame, and then you would take that out of the equation, because it's always perceived. We know that since module 1 there is no guilt and shame.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just a perception. Has to do with family conscience and stuff. So you can take that out, and then and because it was not a sexual abuse or horror or something like that. It was a normal violent death, if you will. Yeah, we didn't need to do any spiritual healing in this case. So
Thank
that
you.
was a demonstration. Thank you for volunteering. Now it's your turn. So as I said, you do it with a light heart. You know, you don't need to freak out here. You don't need to perform. You just practice with each other, right? Who has not been together in a group in this module? Kerstin?
Rosemary and me have not been together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, can we
Connie
actually
and me
do
have not
that?
been together.
Can we actually get you two together, or shall we keep you separate?
Well, I don't know.
I'm happy, whatever.
Okay, you're not gonna to chit chat, eh?
No.
Could be.
Good. So in this case, you have 10 minutes, and then we swap. Yeah. 10 minutes for each. 10 minutes swap. 10 minutes. Yeah.
May I ask something? Anyway, do we ask first, do you know the source of your problem? What do you want to look at? Do we ask that?
You can. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. If you want to. It helps. It helps always to have a guideline, like a thread, a red thread, if you will. Oh no, hang on. That was wrong. So okay, off you go. Okay, wonderful. Everybody's back. We have a few minutes to talk about what has happened. I have already talked a little bit, so we talk about what we haven't talked about yet now. So who has some questions which I haven't talked about with you in the breakout rooms? Otherwise, I can say, well done. I could see that you were, as far as I could perceive it, you were all good in guiding your client, your partner into alpha state, and got some results out. That's not, that's really good. And we had both cases that I have seen in the second half was this childhood trauma, where the parents were both involved in a conversation, that and both. And in both cases, you haven't gone really to the shame and guilt, which comes from what the parents are talking, what the child is listening to, what she's observing, right? So that's interesting. So that was the same for both groups. And
Okay, hang on. So the shame or the guilt lies in that the child listens to the conversation of the parents, or what the parents say, or
yeah, we don't know because we haven't heard it yet. But without knowing what the parents say to each other and to the child, you don't know where the guilt and the shame comes from.
okay. So Rosemary, can I say what you had?
Yeah.
So because her parents were talking about selling the farm, you know, they kept on talking about selling the farm for quite a while, or on the odd occasion. So but where would I go with shame or guilt there? It has got nothing. Rosemary was listening in, but not listening in because it is just the circumstances of their living, that she was sleeping close by or her room is close by, so that she hears the conversation of mom and dad. So where's shame or guilt?
It was probably not there. You have to go further back.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can't find shame and guilt, you have to go back.
Okay.
It will be further before. It will be before or after. So you have to go an hour back, a day, or or treat it like a false memory, and start new with going back to the problem. Yeah. You got to find that. Otherwise, you don't come to the source of the problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And did you find out, Coiny, what the parents said in Karen's case?
No,
Because
I was
it
a bit
too late.
panicked when she said she doesn't want to come out from the wardrobe. I got panicked.
Very good.
And time
So
is up. I don't know how to bring her
that's
back.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Is that right?
So it's not a problem because they're not under hypnosis. You are not bringing them back. You just have to tell them to come back, right?
Hmm.
So that's not a problem really. You just say, and now you come back. You can either count to 1 to 3 or not. Now you come back. You don't do the eye opening by solving the problem. That's too much. At the start, you just say, and open your eyes, and they will do that, of course, because you're guiding them. Well, so overall, how do you feel about your first guidance of a regression?
Horrible.
Horrible. All right, good. But you did it. Now the
No, I
second
didn't.
time, the second time it won't be horrible. Anybody else? Any other horrible comments or different comments?
I'm not up to it. I need to practice.
Good. Good to know.
So that I
Yeah.
don't get panicked.
Yeah, good. Practice it. Really, that's all that, practice is everything, of course. Right.
And I just want to share with you, when Karen did it on me, I don't feel anything. I mean, I don't really see anything. What I can feel is only my feet. And I'm walking on the street. That's it. I don't see anything. But is that normal?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't tell you. But, you're starting. So at least you felt something.
Yeah, it's more like a feeling. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't really see
No,
something.
yes. Feeling is fine. You don't need to. That's enough. You have your eyes closed. You cannot really see anyhow. So it's more a feeling. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you
Okay.
definitely felt something. So you definitely been in alpha state. And
Okay.
that's the most important part. So you can also choose, like you can also practice within your group here. You can also go on WhatsApp and choose somebody to practice with on a regular basis. You don't need to grab friends and families if you don't feel like that's already a good time to do that.
Rosemary did brilliant. She was very good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I don't. Well, I wrote everything down what Maya asked. You see, I knew
So you were
exactly.
cheating.
Hey?
So you were cheating.
Yeah, but it was. You came up with an easy topic. It was obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
It was-
interesting for me. That came really up. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. But you did a good job. You did a really good job.
Oh,
So,
thank you. You were a very good client.
yeah.
Very good.
Kirsty,
Okay.
we should practice. Both of us are terrible on this. We should practice.
Yeah.
I'll email
have-
you.
You do. You do that. You
Yeah.
practice that, and you will see it get easier and easier every time. Okay, so we leave it here. Is there any question other than our last exercise that you want to ask now by the end of module 4? Or you want to digest it first and watch the recordings? We have time. Actually, I see you next weekend. We have a practice workshop, a training gathering, and a workshop. So a full weekend, right? Full of work. Yes, Rosemary.
I just heard of a healer in Switzerland. What he does, he says, for example, you have always problems with, I don't know, with your father, for example. And in a way, he says, if you have a bad relationship or he treats you really badly or whatever, you have to go back in a previous life. Or maybe you were once the father and he was the child.
Sure.
And so would you do that exactly the same way?
No, that's just an explanation. That's not a regression.
But he goes back and then in a way they forgive each other and then everything.
No, I don't think that's no, that's not what I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
You
This
know
is
what
not
I think
you
about
do.
forgiveness.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't sound right to me. Weird. Weird.
Okay.
No
Okay.
forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah, Karen.
Just two observations. I've really enjoyed this module. Thanks, Maya. I think it could easily be broken into 2 modules.
I know.
There is so
know.
much in it.
Mm.
And the other thing is, why do you keep putting stuff on long weekends?
Is it?
Yeah, next
It's
weekend
Labor
is a long,
weekend,
it's Labor
Maya.
weekend. It's a
Labor
long
weekend.
weekend.
Because
Okay.
you know, not everybody comes from New Zealand. I don't know. I don't know. So that means you can't do the whole weekend. You can never do long weekends. Is that a problem?
It's a real problem for me because that's when I use the time to go out and catch up with family and friends.
Mhm.
You know, that's the time that I've already designated to them.
Yeah, nothing I can do. Sorry. You have to decide.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you
No.
very much for the weekend, and it's been lovely seeing you all as well. Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
Yeah,
good to
it
see you,
was.
Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So remember, I know that most people find this very interesting, module 4, but not everybody, because some really only want to hear about family constellation. So this is a compromise. I find it really helpful to incorporate these methodologies over time in the work with family constellation, and I'm sure you will find that too. And also, I find it extremely helpful. It has helped me in my spiritual development, and I think it would help you too, either now or later. You never know. Yeah, thank you for being here with me. Was this also a long weekend?
No.
Okay. So it was not always a long weekend. And I see you most likely next weekend. Remember, check when the practice workshop is and the training gatherings for any questions regarding the training. I think it's a Saturday, isn't it? The Saturday is, I think, it's a training, and the Sunday is the open workshop, isn't it?
No, I think the opposite.
Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah. Anyhow, you see it on the calendar. So you remember, you don't need to book the practice workshop or the training gatherings, but you do need to book with your voucher code the open workshop. Yeah, and do that in time. And I'm absolutely sure there is no problem. These problems are only with the modules, the training modules of this group, and just since the last module 3, 4, and I am suspicious we can't fix it because the tech guy couldn't find it. So we will deal with it in module 5 as well, and I will send you a link 10 minutes before. So that's how we have to finish off this module, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm away for a week, so I won't be able to. And then there's this workshop in Auckland. So this time you have to bear with me here. The video recordings probably take 3 weeks until they are ready to watch. Yeah.
Okay.
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 And your workshop in Picton? When is
that is the last Saturday of November.
last Saturday of November, not the 12th.
No.
Or
That has been postponed by 2 weeks. It's the last Saturday in November, and if you would like to book it, you can go to the Facebook site, and there's a link to
okay.
book it.
We can't use one of our vouchers and put some money
Not for
towards
the
it?
in-person one. No.
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 Okay.
The in-person workshops, they count as extracurricular workshops, 6 hours.
Okay.
Hmm?
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
time.
Thanks,
See you next
everyone.
weekend.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.